Hello, Minot sports fans, and good day to you once again, wherever you are listening. Welcome back to another episode of the Minot Sports Podcast, producing inside the KMSU TV and radio studios on the beautiful campus of Minot State University inside Hartnett Hall. I want to welcome you guys into episode 7. This will be the final episode of the 2021 summer series, and we shall move on to season 3. I am now started my junior year here at the college. We changed the name to our major from broadcasting and professional communication to just professional communication, or ProCom for short, as a credit to Lee Johnson there, the broadcast manager / specialist. And so, just getting started here with school. I'm sure the same is for all you listeners out there going to Minot High. I know Bishop Brian and Ari Deemers, they started today we're doing this on the 25th, Wednesday in August. So hoping all of you guys out there have a great year. Hope to achieve your goals for either the semester or the year, however your path or wherever your path is currently guiding you at this point. But we wish all the best. But nonetheless, folks, I'm your host for each and every episode, Cole Clementich. And today on the podcast, we went on a good run with guests, but now we are back to talking Minot sports individually. Also want to hear from you guys what your thoughts are, but we're just going to recap the rest of the summer. I believe we just touched on the Minot Storm results, so I think they got done pretty quickly, but we still had the Vistas Metros and the South Valley Sabre Dogs playing, as well as the expansion Magic City Legends, and kind of went off with a bang. This summer proved to be just like how the spring semester ended for Minot High Athletics, with a couple of champions. We'll get to that momentarily here, but first, we want to thank our sponsors of the show, Joshua Strong and Peyton Bartsch Photography. You can check them out on Twitter and Instagram. For Twitter, at Bartsch Photos, Instagram, at Peyton Bartsch Photography, and Josh has the same handles for his Instagram and Twitter, at _Joshua W. Strong. We thank them for their contributions to the Minot Sports Podcast, being able to send over some graphics and photos of athletes whenever we need them, and it is much appreciated. We thank them for the stuff they do, and go check them out, folks. And heck, even if you want to schedule, well, I know Josh is now in Bismarck, but if you want to schedule maybe some senior photos, or just kind of do a little photo session, whether it's with the family or whatever it is that you might think of, just a photo session in general. Those guys, they've done it before, and so I think they'll easily get the job done. But like I said, folks, we are now on to the school year, so everything's getting started on a fresh slate. Minot State Athletics coming back, and with us being here on campus, always want to give a shout out to KMSU TV and radio, who reside, like I said, in Hartnett Hall. Can go follow them as well on social media, on Twitter and Facebook. Their handles are at KMSU19, 19 meaning Mid-Continent Channel 19, allowing us to use the public access channel there. They are also at KMSU TV Radio on Instagram and at KMSU TV on YouTube. With classes getting underway, we're going to get together for the first class of the semester for our campus TV show called MSU Inside Out. Tryouts won't be for another couple of weeks, but it'll be here before you know it, and we're going to combine forces, and got some new faces along the way too, and I think it's going to be a great semester now that the restrictions have kind of fell off the picture a little bit. Still want to be careful, but we could be in for a great semester on the TV show, so looking forward to that. And if you want to check out past episodes, KMSU TV on that YouTube channel. I know I show up on there as a sports reporter, and in the fall semester of last year, I was a host, so very fortunate to get the reps and just having fun with it too. Obviously you got to follow through, making sure it is a quality product or service, but still the more reps, the more comfortable you get. And that's certainly what I've felt from that. But enough of that chatter. Let's start talking some summer sports, and we'll just wrap it up here quickly on the show today. Talking first with the Minot Metros. They're the youngest bunch in the group. So the Minot Metros, the single A Legion baseball team for Minot, one of the few Legion teams actually, and kind of pretty much inconsistent. At times they looked great in games that they weren't supposed to win, but they did. Overall, they finished with 20 wins and 28 losses, and going into the postseason, they got knocked out right away. I'll have to find the opponents here, but it's not really the same bracket as what you would see in a normal high school season, like the region and state tournaments. They do get a second chance on a consolation or losers bracket, but once you lose that second time, that is it for the season, and that is exactly what happened with the Metros here. If I can pull up, maybe I don't have it, I'm not sure, but I'm going to look here for it. They lost to West Fargo 8-0, and then a close one with the Bismarck Capitals, one where they kind of struggled a bit against the Caps, and obviously, given how good or how well built the East teams are out there, is going to be a test for the Metros, regardless of who they were going up against. But 8-0, really kind of the start of things falling apart, although they did show some fire, some competitive spirits in the second game, taking on one of the several Bismarck teams, the Capitals, and just could not finish it off, and losing by 1 run. I mean, if you're going to go out, at least go out fighting for it, and they didn't go down easily. So, but one thing you got to remember with this Metros team, that they graduated a lot of kids. I'm not talking like seniors. There were no seniors on the team. But the transition from last year to this year, the amount of guys that made the jump to varsity, or I guess in this case with Legion Summer Ball, that made the jump from single A to double A, playing a big role for the Minot Vistas, that's got to be taken into consideration as well. And that says a lot about the Minot Metros. So it may have not showed up on the field production-wise or for the stats, however you want to look at it, however the coaches look at it. This group produced some great kids and some great talent for the Minot Vistas to use in roles that they were able to succeed in. And they had a lot of young guys and inexperience all throughout the roster. You hardly saw any returners on the Metros. Like, you could say Carter Mowbray was one of them, but that was hardly it. And a lot of younger guys that are still growing and gushing with potential that are in athletic families. You know, you compare the Ruziskas with Hunter and Tyson. Tyson got a lot of playing time this past year for the Metros. And with him starting to move up the ranks in the high school or the schooling system, he will get his looks. And trust me, that is going to be the same. A lot of the same guys played for the Metros this season. And I think without a doubt, this baseball program, the players that they're putting out, they're set up for success. So don't look at all of it entirely as the Metros were inconsistent. They had an early exit from the playoffs. Remember, they sent up a lot of guys to play double A ball, and from this year to last year, and that goes to show you a lot of what this team has done for not only the development of the athlete, but also the person. So these kids are going to have a lot of success. They're going to get their looks. They're going to get scouted. These coaches are watching. You can bank on that. So there's that for the Minot Metros. The early playoff exit, they were mostly inconsistent throughout the entire season. I referenced 20 wins and 28 losses, 48 total games played. Yeah, you'd kind of like to see that number go up, but we'll see, given that there could be several returning starters for this team next year with added experience, that number could easily go up, at least the win total. the number of wins. So we'll see how that goes next year. As for the Minot Vistas, a lot of mixed talent. A lot of kids that they're good at some things, but other things some other kids are good at. The one thing that was certain, Chase Burke holding down the leadoff hitter spot, and deservedly so, going off to play college ball, I believe in Arizona. I'll make sure to fact check that. But him using his power on the bat, there were a lot of opportunities with this team to get going early, and they had several chances. And then you add other guys with other abilities like Hunter Ruziska having the speed that he does. Heck, if even he himself putting the ball in play, anything can happen. He's got the legs for the consistent base running. And Trent Greek, all or nothing. This batting lineup was just a mix of power and speed, and then a good mix also of guys who were well-rounded on defense. Dylan Buchanan at third, having the size, but also the arm strength, because those throws aren't easy, but to get that to first, yes, once you get to college, it should be a much easier throw to make, but some of those throws have been tricky, and Buchanan has been a great filler for that third base position. And then a mix with Morgan Nygaard and even Ruziska would switch from either second and shortstop. You add some young legs to that, and they bring the energy, and they had really solid depth at bat with guys like those. And then an everyday stalwart at the catcher's position, Braden McCarty. When a runner is stealing base, and you got McCarty at catcher, look out, because he can fling that ball, and he's able to make several big plays happen when catching someone stealing base, or at least identifying with great instincts and reaction time. Not only that, but just holding down the fort at the catcher's spot. Yeah, you were going to have your occasional wild pitches, pass balls. Those will happen. That's life. Those are expected to happen at least once in a baseball game, but at least for McCarty, he did it well, and he was also a consistent batter in the bottom of the lineup. You add him along with these other interchangeable parts of position players also pitching, like Chase Burke would come in the ninth inning, try and close it out. Hunter Ruziska gets a lot of pitching starts or calls, and then several guys that only pitch that are good at it with their command and overall consistency, hitting the strike zone, and not only doing it, but just a lot of fooling several guys. Several fastballs, curveballs, sliders even, caused a lot of frustration amongst the opposing sides. Now, it all wasn't like that. Some games were high-octane offense, but most of the time, the Vistas were just able to play a clean slate, a clean game that you just couldn't ask for anything better than that. Now, the Vistas, they were different than the Metros in the Legion postseason for AA. They started off round one with a tight one-run game against the Dickinson Rough Riders, 5-4. That's your classic, your casual playoff baseball game right there, which the Vistas were able to edge out of. And then here's an interesting story. So in round two, the Vistas playing another close, tight-knit game, but losing to Fargo Post 400, the Fargo Post 400 Stars, 4-3, which they would go on to win the ND Legion AA state title. Not only that, but go to the regional and national tournament where they appeared on several games being broadcasted that were going on ESPN. If you watch that currently, ESPN's broadcasting the Little League World Series. They've also been doing some Legion games as well, where Fargo Post 400, they were on national TV a few times, so they're kind of spoiled the winner for you guys there. But Fargo Post 400 winning the ND Legion state title in AA. But the Vistas weren't done there. They took down Grand Forks, another close game. That seems to have been the theme for every game. The Vistas 5-4 over Grand Forks, but then their season would come to an end when things really fell apart against the West Fargo Pats. 14-6 the final score, and that was it for the Minot Vistas. But still, great season nonetheless, showed great fight, and they have a lot of nice pieces. Going back to what I was saying about the Metros earlier, they have a lot of nice pieces to work with. Even though they're going to lose a few quality guys, they're still set to have that same mentality, that culture that is set in place. And with a lot of young guys busting out onto the scene, guys like Nygaard and even Kellen Burke. Let's see who else here. Even Tyler Boudreau. Believe I mentioned Nygaard already. Brzezinski is just getting underway in his senior year. Calvin Baker, I still think he's going to be around. I could be wrong there. Actually, no, I think he just graduated. But Tyler Buchanan, has that potential to be an ace on the mound for the Vistas, if not already there. And so the Vistas have a lot of nice pieces to work with when it all gets started next year. And also be on the lookout, because there could be some off-brand names that you might not think will make the varsity team for Minot High when the spring season comes around. But still, great work by Magic City Youth Baseball, producing a lot of college-ready and college-level talent. We wish all the best to athletes out there that are going off to play college athletics. And even if you aren't in an athletic sport, baseball or not, still the best of luck in your future endeavors. As for the current guys, again, lots of pieces to work with for the Minot Vistas. Now let's get talking about champions. Start off this segment, the Magic City Legends. They were winners by default. All it took was one goal against Red River SC. There are only 4 teams. By the way, if you haven't heard, this is a brand new soccer league, a format kind of similar to what the Souris Valley Sabre Dogs and the Expedition League are trying to do. If they build up that audience, they get that revenue, a lot of that revenue going in, which I thought when I went in Bismarck, they had a good crowd and they had concessions and everything. I really think if they can get this audience going, it's going to help out this league tremendously. But away from that, the Magic City Legends, because there's only 4 teams. I mean, nothing's been really confirmed. There's probably supposed to be more than 4 teams, but I guess 4 at the moment. I don't know the exact number. I guess so. There's Magic City Legends, there's Magic Soccer in Bismarck, South Dakota FC, and Red River. There's also supposed to be a team in Wyoming, but we haven't heard anything on that front yet. But the Legends by default, I guess that's kind of a Debbie Downer way to put it, but I mean, they're still winners. Congrats to the Magic City Legends. Inaugural season, not only they've been around for a while, but inaugural season for the league. They're playing in the Frontier Premier League. They're the first ever league champions, going with a record of 2 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. And I guess with the tiebreakers going to the Legends, having scored more goals, I would assume that would be the tiebreaker format. Scored more goals than anyone else. And getting that 1-0 win in that final game against Red River in Bismarck was huge, because that eventually got them the title. No playoff tournament was played. And overall, they were strong. And not only on the field, but mentally, they held in there in times where they weren't dominating possession of the ball and getting shots on net, but a stalwart on defense, bend but don't break. They held in there, and they did some more heavy lifting than the other guys. That's for sure. They were battle-tested, but a group well-rounded enough that they got the job done. So congrats to them on the first ever title, not only in the team history, but also in the league's history. So bragging rights. Great job there for the Magic City Legends. And then the big one here, the Souris Valley Sabre Dogs. Yes, you can now call them champions. 2021 Expedition League title for your Sabre Dogs. Also playing their summer games at legendary Corbett Field. That is where they had the title game at. Well, I guess the SaberDogs had the home field advantage. However, in each of the best of 3 series, they would start out on the road, which I guess you can make an argument that it doesn't benefit the team with the home field advantage, because if the team at home for that first game gets the win, and now the team with the home field advantage you can say have their backs against the wall. But with them having the advantage of home field and home fans, it could kind of ease that a little bit, but that's their way of doing things. That's their format. And if your team like the SaberDogs, that was essentially meaningless, because whether on the road or at home, they just kept winning ball games, and at the right time they did. And the big thing about them was that it was just that time where teams started sending players home early. Well, I guess the teams didn't really do it, but is the players' incentive to start heading home early back to college, or preparing for college, I guess in this case, if it was still early in August, or even heck, late in July almost. But when talking to head coach Alec Miklos for that post-game interview, that celebration of the championship win, right from day one, he knew that this is how the league runs their business. We got to get guys committed, and we got to get guys that we know can play deep in the summer, guys that will stay. Not only that, but building depth all around the entire roster. That was the X factor, the big difference between that what the SaberDogs stood out from all the other teams. They had more depth than anyone else. Pitching was phenomenal. I mean, in the 4 games that I can recall, or I guess I'll look it up here right now, but the pitching in 4 games, it is just mind-boggling numbers, and I mean just landmark, earth-shattering numbers from the pitching staff, only giving up 7 runs in 4 games. And then you want to know what the batters did in those 4 games? They had 15 in Game 1 against Badlands in the divisional series. In the second game, a clutch 3-run homer for Steven Moretto. Late in that game, they added another 7, so that is 23 or 22 runs. That is 22 runs alone in the divisional series. And then in the championship series, 11 runs in the first game against the Spearfish Sasquatch. And then the clincher, 8 runs. So 22 runs in the first round, 19 runs in the second round. You get 41 runs in a 4-game stretch while only giving up 7. Yeah, there's a good chance you are more likely to win. You're more likely to go 4-0 than to lose one. Like the SaberDogs, they were just playing at such a high level and taking no prisoners and not thinking twice about it. Like this mindset, the mindset set up by this new coaching group with Alex Miklos, Benton Schweinfurth, and Michael Newstrom, finishing the regular season the way they did, 44-18, like they knew they had championship aspirations. They went out there and they played ball like the season depended on it. Even though those were quick best-of-3 series, like you lose one of those games, that could easily swing the entire playoff bracket for the Expedition League. Like one swing game is all it takes to give one team momentum, and you may have had it lost from that game alone. So the SaberDogs, they did not slow down. Like I said, they were not taking any prisoners along the way. They did their job. Pitching was astronomical. Offense was going at a super high rate, almost unthinkable. You combine those two and the depth that you have and just a great chemistry in the outfield. You know, that was one thing where, I mean, it applies for all teams in the Expedition League, but these are new guys. Some of these are new guys. I mean, some of them are familiar with each other, but there are a lot of new guys that have to get familiar with each other quickly and start building up that chemistry. There were times where not everything was clean. Yeah, you had some bad games. That's going to happen, and it did in the regular season, but more likely than not, the SaberDogs, with the depth they had, they were going to outperform anyone that came their way. And there was a time where even I thought, and I'm sure maybe some of you even thought of this too, but there were times where the SaberDogs on the schedule for 3-game series or 4-game series, they would go up against the Pure Trappers. What did they do? They were one of the worst teams in the league. They went up against the Canyon County Spuds for a few games. What did they do? They were one of the worst teams in the league. They played the Casper Horseheads to finish off the regular season. They had 2 games against the Mining City Tommyknockers. A brand new expansion team had to cancel their last 2 games for reasons that I will not share. I probably shouldn't share at this time. A lot of disputes between the players and management. Let's just put it at that. But there were a lot of series where the Sabre Dogs, now you got to give them the credit too, because they beat teams that they were supposed to be. They won games where they were supposed to dominate their opponent. But there were times where, like, is this fool's gold? Was this going to be enough for the Sabre Dogs? And sure enough, it wasn't. It was not fool's gold. It was a good team doing what they're supposed to do, having fun at it, and coming out with the results that every team is aspiring for. And that was a championship. So great job to the Souris Valley Sabre Dogs, 2021 Expedition League champions. All the best. Best of luck to all of the potentially current Sabre Dogs players that could return next summer, going on in your college baseball careers or whatever endeavors that they're taking up. And to those that will not be returning next year because of eligibility or for other reasons, maybe even some better opportunities to play professional baseball. We'll talk about that later, but always good luck to all, whether or not those players are returning. And also, what shouldn't get lost in this championship run for the Souris Valley Sabre Dogs is they led the Expedition League in several major categories, and that's a pretty big deal when you're trying to win baseball games. You're leading the league in stolen bases. That just shows how impressive the Sabre Dogs have been able to recruit and be able to identify these ball players with several talents, not just instrumental to the game of baseball, but, I keep hearing that baseball, a modern day ball game, you go to the ballpark, no matter where it's at. Could be professional, could be minor league, like the Sabre Dogs, could be minor league, like single A, double A, triple A, or even a college game. We have the Beavers here in town. The modern day baseball game, if you do not see athletes out there, these guys are athletic. They're not just standing there, having luck on their side, waiting for the ball to come to them, or just make some simple throws. That's not easy. You go out there and you put a bat to ball, or if you're a first-timer trying to do that, good luck. Modern day baseball, in this era, you need not just baseball players, but guys with very high athleticism. That's exactly what the Sabre Dogs had. Depth everywhere and guys who are super athletic. And props to the coaching staff that Alex Miklos has on hand, with Michael Newstrom and Benton Schweinfurth for getting these guys on board to commit and trust the process. And with these major stats like batting average, hits, I think hits was one of them, but I know stolen bases was a huge one too. Like, you have fast and effective base running, you catch the other team off guard, gonna confuse them a lot. You're gonna win a lot of ball games doing that. What also helps is that 2 of your major sluggers at the top of the order, Bo Brewer and Caden Schwabe, they were on an MVP type pace halfway through the season, and they left early to go back to college. Schwabe, unfortunately, was injury related, but he still, I believe, went back home early. But you leave out those 2 guys in the batting lineup, those 2 guys which led in batting average. You talk about Bo Brewer's, 31 game hit streak, and yet he was still in a race with Caden Schwabe as far as batting average and at-bats go, and then you leave them out of the equation just about a quarter of the way left in the season, maybe even less than that, and you come away with a championship, you did it right. The Sabre Dogs, they built this team the right way. It's a modern-day model. You don't have just baseball players, but you have athletes out there, and they just manhandled anyone that came their way. in the postseason, a clean sweep throughout 4 games in 2 of the best of 3 series, and both, of the best of 3 series. Only 2 of them because only 4 teams make it. Sabre Dogs were one of them, and the lucky ones to come out on top. So congrats once again to the South Valley Sabre Dogs for capturing their first Expedition League title in franchise history. Congrats to the coaches, players, shout out to the GMs as well, and also to the interns that made it an amazing game day experience. And thank you guys also for making it a fun summer for me as well, spending a good time with the interns there. So yeah, the South Valley Sabre Dogs on top of the mountain. Let the off-season celebrations begin. Before we take a quick break here, just want to remind you guys about our sponsors, Joshua Strong and Peyton Bartsch Photography. Josh now in Bismarck, but Peyton still around here in Minot. Wonderful photographers that have built their audience with a camera and social media content, producing quality, high quality, that is, photos of action shots of athletes, just photo shoots, what have you. Could be even some of the most basic things out there. And whatever you request, they'll get the job done for you. For all your photography needs, be sure to follow them on social media. Twitter at Bartsch Photos and Instagram at Peyton Bartsch Photography. And for Josh, he has the same handles for his 2 accounts on Instagram and Twitter at _Joshua W. Strong. And then KMSU, follow them on social media at KMSU19 on Facebook and Twitter, at KMSU TV Radio on Instagram, and at KMSU TV on YouTube. Like I said, folks, we are just getting underway in the school year. Lots of exciting events coming up in the Minot State Professional Communication Department as the name change is official. And you're going to see a lot of what the department has to offer, and you'll see me a lot also broadcasting or producing some live shows. We might even get some action on the live radio station here pretty soon. That is up and running in the newly updated radio room as well. Nice new desk in there, going now from 2 mics to 5. That does include the main DJ set. And folks, there's lots of room for opportunity with it. So hopefully we can get using that here pretty soon. But like I said, Minot sports fans, be sure to give a big follow on social media for KMSU and Josh and Peyton. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Welcome to KMSU TV and Radio. You might be asking, what is KMSU? It is the brand name for the MSU Broadcasting Department, home to the many young and aspiring communication majors here at Minot State University. When joining KMSU, there will be many different opportunities to get involved. Students will get a hands-on learning experience and lots of future career fields, like the production of content, being a leader in public relations, operating social media, or even writing and journalism. KMSU is also home to the local public access channel, where students can produce the weekly campus TV show and talk on live radio. From us here at KMSU, we hope to see you along the way.
All right, so I mentioned earlier during our Sabre Dogs segment that there are usually some guys that will return to the team. Some do, but some others don't. And sometimes that's for a good reason. And so when you get an opportunity to play professional baseball, even if it's in the Pioneer League, you can't pass that up. So the Sabre Dogs originally had, and now this is kind of old news, but the Sabre Dogs originally had former Minot State pitcher Aaron Kern with the team to start the year, but something else came out where he ended up signing with the Great Falls Voyagers, like I said, of the Pioneer League. I don't know much about them, but what I do know, Pioneer League, it is a level of professional baseball. It may not be affiliated with Major League Baseball, may not be a single A, double A, or triple A, but it is a form of or league of professional baseball. So anytime, you can, they always say the top 1% of 1% of athletes only ever make it to college. And then you take another 1% on top of that go professional professional, that's where Aaron Kern is at right now. And for him, doing some research here, leading the Beavers baseball team, he set a single season saves record with 8 in the 2021 spring season. You're going to get a lot of attention with stats like that, and very much so. Well deserved for Aaron Kern, and his great news or great traction for not only for the Beavers but for the Sabre Dogs as well, as they once called him one of their own. So this is a pretty big deal. So we're lucky to have someone, especially for our demographics here in Minot. Going back to that 1% of athletes only ever make it to college athletics, and then another 1% on top of that making it professional. Like Kern, it may not be MLB, but he's still that 1% on top of that. Because how many other guys are going to make it to that level that Kern is at? Well, there is one other person, and this is a good segue into our next subject, and that is Bo McClintock, another former Souris Valley Sabre Dogs slugger. Actually participated, if you remember, back in the Home Run Derby when Minot hosted it in 2019. Great show that the Sabre Dogs were able to put on. But going from the Point University Skyhawks and playing a couple summers with the Souris Valley Sabre Dogs, and he is now, all that work's paid off because he is now also joining Kern in the Pioneer League signing with the Boise Hawks. And so make that 2 former Sabre Dogs, one of them with Minot State, but 2 former Sabre Dogs to turn pro, at least turn pro in a league that still considers to be at a professional level. So all that work in the cage, the batting cage, showing out greatly in some of the summer seasons, the summer league with the Sabre Dogs that we were lucky to have Bo play for us, the good guys. It's all paid off. And so now he is currently playing, just like Aaron Kern, professional baseball with the Boise Hawks. So congrats to both Aaron and Bo. And who knows, they've probably already seen each other in a match, maybe. Not sure how the divisions work. And actually, the more research I am doing right now, they are not affiliated with Major League Baseball, but they are a partner league of Major League Baseball. Any sort of cases where players have been signed, or at least even drafted into Major League Baseball from this league, that I don't know. I'd have to get back to you on that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. If you guys know more about it, feel free to leave a message on social media, or however, I guess, just best way to reach out however you feel. But yeah, regardless of whether it not being a affiliate of MLB baseball, whether that is the case or not, it's still considered professional baseball. So it's a huge deal. And I know this is kind of old news, but still want to get word out there that if you guys did not ever see Bo McClintock and Aaron Kern, I know not all of you go to Minot State, but I know the Souris Valley Sabre Dogs are a nice attraction piece for the city of Minot, kind of like the same model how the Minotaurs do it. If you have not seen them play, you will see, or I guess kind of contradicted myself there. If you have not seen Bo and Aaron play, if you watch some old videos or watch them on film, I think you would see easily those guys were very deserving of a shot, and several other guys too. But Aaron and Bo have gone the extra mile, and it's paying off for them. And so, as always, congrats to them, and best of luck in their future endeavors. Maybe we see a potential draft pick in the MLB, or both, which would just be a cherry on top. Absolutely, it would be awesome. So again, congrats to both players. We're going to get into some quick coaching hires before we head out. In fact, I'm not even sure if I announced this yet. I know I have on my social media, but on podcast format. If you did not get word, Minot State is now expanding in athletics, adding a women's wrestling team. With how much the sport is growing throughout the country, heck, we saw a female wrestler for the Velvet Aggies not too long ago when they competed against Minot High. It's several against Bishop Ryan as well. The sport is growing fast, and to see this come to the college ranks here in town for Minot and the Beavers, this is a win, a big win a big win-win situation. Not only is this going to attract some new headlines, maybe some new fans, a fan base, but the local athletes, the amount that is growing, and the future female wrestlers out there that live here locally, this is only gonna help out so much more. And so that's again a big win for Minot State and the local female wrestlers out there. But kind of going off topic a little bit here, focused on coaching hires. So Minot State now has a women's wrestling program that is going to debut in the 2022-23 school year. And they actually got a package deal out of this. So looking at what we have here now, forgive me, I'm probably going to butcher the name, but for the first ever coach heading into the inaugural season for Minot State women's wrestling, if I can pull it up here and find it, Brittany Mitchum introduced as Minot State's first women's wrestling coach. And not only that, they brought along the family, did Minot State, because Tim Mitchum will be following along with her. So the Mitchum family coming to Minot State. And I guess if one was offered, I guess the other one would have to move with them. But it worked out so easily that they just brought them both along, and Tim Mitchum will join the men's wrestling coaching staff as an assistant, even after Chase Jackson got hired on to be the head wrestling coach at Southwest Minnesota State University. So, I mean, hey, why not bring them in both? And amazing how it was able to work out that way. So a fresh start for the women's wrestling team was still yet to recruit an athlete to the team. I don't know if there's any guidelines for that they may have to wait or something, but of course, we'll see whenever that happens. I'll be sure to let you guys know, keep you informed on here and both on the social medias. It's also going to help out the men's wrestling team too, because, new ideas, a fresh set of eyes for how much the men's team has seen a little bit of the struggle bus as of late these past couple years. This family that Minot State is adding along to the list of head coaches and assistant coaches in athletics, you add two sets of eyes and some new insight, this could spring some new ideas. And I'm going to play an optimistic role here. Who knows? Maybe a new voice was needed. Maybe a coach with technique-driven details. I'll be honest, I don't know much about both coaches, but I do know that maybe they do need some fresh insight and some new eyes. Maybe nothing against Chase Jackson. Congrats to him. That was just a new opportunity that arose and he took it. Or I guess whatever happened, they may have offered him. But maybe, again, I'm going to play an optimistic role. Might be something that this team will need, something different the men's team does. But for that to be an assistant coach, who knows? It could make all the difference in the world. But we'll have to wait and see, because the field has been way high above the Minot State men's team in wrestling. So a slight change in the coaching staff, who knows? We might see a difference in philosophy or technique for these wrestlers, and may turn out to be a difference, may turn out to be a better thing for Minot State men's wrestling team. So, but again, congrats to the Mitchum family. Welcome to Minot State. Congrats to Jace Jackson. Kind of let this one loose on the fly while talking for a moment there. He's off to SMSU. Wish all the best for him. And Minot sports fans, that is going to be it for episode 7 of the 2021, I guess the whole summer series. So that is it for the entirety of the summer series. Again, I want to thank you guys once again for tuning in to listen every time I record and release a new project whenever the day and time. We are going to be transitioning now into season 3 in conjunction with my junior year of college here at Minot State University campus. Third year also in the professional communication department. So episode 1 of season 3 coming out next. And in that, we'll start talking high school sports. The fall sports season opener, it's underway, and we'll get started. That's actually a good transition point to start talking about and start getting into season 3. Why not? So it'll be a nice fit right there. But Minot sports fans, want to thank you again. As always, be sure to check out our sponsors, Joshua Strong, and Peyton Bartsch Photography. Go follow them on Instagram and Twitter, and KMSU TV and Radio. We thank them for allowing us to use the studios to not only record, but also do some fun, unique production projects, not only for class, but also at our own time as well. Be sure to check out the podcast on social media. Links are down below in the description, or at least the usernames or the handles. And that will do it, Minot sports fans. I am your host, Cole Clementich, saying farewell to you and on to season 3. With that said, Minot sports fans, you guys have yourselves a great rest of your day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Take care. And I will see you for the start of season 3.